Okay, so it's been a while since I've talked about Baki on the channel, but after the few recent chapters of the manga, I felt like, why not? Why not? Let's just talk about Baki once again. And I know One Punch Man has been taking up like 90% of my uploads because, One Punch Man has just been pretty crazy recently, but I guess the arc is now, down, the last fight has finally finished. So, I'll finally be adding Baki and Jujutsu Kaisen back to the channel. Well, not back because I kind of swapped Jujutsu Kaisen for Record of Ragnarok because, keep this a secret, but I kind of don't like Record of Ragnarok anymore. It's pretty boring. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is we're going to be talking about what could happen in the next chapter of Baki. Now, of course, if you like Baki, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel because, if you guys support Baki on the, on the channel, then, I'll upload more of it because, I kind of respond to, the performance of a video. And, if you guys don't want to see Baki, then, the likes will be down, the subscriber count will be down, all that good stuff. But apart from that, enough of me talking. Let's get into the actual video. Now, I'm not going to bore you with like a summary of what happened in the last chapter or the last couple of chapters, but I will say, like in the last two chapters, we basically just saw KEHAYA and Yujiro fight, and we see that KEHAYA, I guess you can't really call it a loss, but he kind of retreated, meaning that I guess Yujiro did kind of win. And we also saw in the latest chapter that it seems as though KEHAYA and Doppo Orochi are going to fight in the next chapter. Well, not necessarily in the next chapter because it's not confirmed that they're going to be fighting in the next chapter, but I'm guessing that that fight will come at some point. And if you're going to ask me what I feel about that fight, personally, I feel like it's a bit weird. I didn't expect Doppo Orochi to fight KEHAYA, but looking at it again, it's kind of a good matchup. I feel like these two might be around the same level of strength, maybe. I feel like KEHAYA will win this fight personally. I don't think Doppo Orochi will win. Who knows? Doppo Orochi could end up winning, but from where I'm looking at it, I feel like KEHAYA does outscale Doppo Orochi at the moment anyway. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see as to how that fight turns out. But my bet is personally on KEHAYA. But moving on to kind of what I really want to talk about, which is Jack. Now, I know a lot of you guys are really wanting Jack versus Baki or Jack versus any other character that he challenged back when he defeated Sukune. And personally, I feel like the first fight might be against Baki because, I mean, that's the fight everyone wants to see. Or it's either Baki is the first that he fights or he's the last that he fights. And I feel like the Jack fight might come in the next chapter because I feel like we've kind of gotten a good grasp of what KEHAYA is about, like his fighting style, etc. So I feel like us shifting back to Jack would make a lot of sense personally, and I feel like it also is something everyone wants to see. Now, if you're asking me who would win between Jack versus Baki at this point in time, I know a lot of people love Jack, but I still feel like Baki is taking that fight. I mean, Baki was also able to defeat Sukune pretty much. I don't know if you guys want to count it as a win, but I think it's a win for Baki personally. I feel like Baki would beat Jack, but it would be a lot more difficult in my opinion. Like, Baki won't completely like, no diff Jack. I feel like it might be like a mid diff, even the high diff fight for Baki if Jack decides to really use the full extent of his new martial arts, Dou. And talking about Dou is another like martial arts style that I feel like I really like. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Jack personally, and I'm pretty sure I've made this clear many times before on the channel, but Dou is very cool. I mean, the whole fighting style of biting, I feel like it really does fit Jack because, his whole like metal teeth and his, his strong jaw and all of that. And I like the way he trains his jaw. It's very unique. It's different from the other fighting styles in the series. So I really would like to see that be used a lot more. And I guess that will subsequently mean that we'll see Jack more in the series, but I know how Baki is. They like to focus on different fighters depending on the arc, etc. Like, for example, in the sumo arc, a lot of people might not like it because I guess we haven't been focused on characters like Baki or Yujiro who are really popular. And I guess the sumo like characters aren't as likable as for example, like Musashi. In my opinion, I feel like Musashi is a lot more likable than someone like Sukune. And I'm pretty sure there's obvious reasons why that is. I'm pretty sure Musashi was just cooler, he was stronger. He was just a lot more likable than Sukune in general. But back to what we're talking about. Now, if I was to come up to like a clear conclusion on what I think could happen in the next chapter, I feel like we might not go straight to Jack. I feel like that's something I'm not gonna try and, you know, sell you guys a dream here, but I feel like KEHAYA versus Doppo Orochi may be built up more in the next chapter. I feel like next chapter might be a bit of a short one, and it might be just like a quick build up of Doppo Orochi versus KEHAYA, or you might even see the fight start in that chapter, who knows. I would like to think that that would happen, but at the same time there's a possibility of it switching to Jack, but it all depends on what, you know, the Baki author wants to do. I mean, I do see the Baki author just like changing the whole fight completely. Like, we might just see Jack just come in the next chapter, which I'm sure a lot of people aren't really expecting, since we're really focused on KEHAYA at the moment. But if you're asking me personally, I would like to see Jack versus the rest of the fighters. I mean, once we get to Jack versus Baki, that will be like peak Baki at that point. Like, nothing is beating that, in my opinion. Another thing I really want to talk about is Jack possibly fighting Yujiro. Now, we've seen that Baki has had his chance to fight against Yujiro, and we saw how that came out. It was a really great fight, and I guess Baki won. Like, I mean, people like to say Baki won, yeah, but realistically, we know Baki didn't really win that fight. Like, Yujiro is still the strongest creature on earth. Yujiro is still stronger than Baki. So, I mean, seeing how Jack fares up against Yujiro, it would be really cool in my opinion. I mean, as I said before, Baki has already had his chance to face off against Yujiro, and I guess he won, but it was kind of not a win at the same time. So even in the last chapter, well, the last chapter we saw Jack, we saw that Jack also talked about fighting against Yujiro, or wanting to fight against Yujiro. So it's kind of already confirmed that they will have like a one-on-one fight at some point. So that's also something I would really like to see. And if that comes up in the next chapter, that would be a crazy just twist of the whole thing. I feel like no one is expecting that. So at the same time, that's also a really big possibility. I know Baki is a very random and very it's very unpredictable series. So seeing that happen, I guess, would be surprising, but at the same time wouldn't be surprising because it's Baki. But that's pretty much all I have to say for this video, to be honest. Tell me what you guys think could happen in the next chapter. I've already made my 3 possible predictions, which are, you know, continuing the fight with KEHAYA versus Doppo Orochi, well, if there is a fight in the first place, which I'm sure there is. Seeing Jack versus Baki, or Jack versus any other fighter in the arena, or we could see once again just Jack versus Yujiro, which would be pretty random because we don't really know where Yujiro is currently. Yujiro just kind of left the fight after like KEHAYA retreated. But that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. If you didn't, don't. But apart from that, I'll see you in my next video.